This patient has a problem. What is it? Well, as I'm sure you guessed, they have a cavity. This brown spot is a decayed area of the tooth, aka a cavity. No, it's not just marker. So we'll need to fix this cavity, which I'll be showing in this video. We'll need to remove the cavity from the tooth and contour the filling so it's comfortable for the patient and aesthetically pleasing. Since it's on the edge of the tooth, we're going to need to take extra precautions to make sure the filling is flossable to prevent future cavities. First, we'll take the patient's blood pressure. It's a little low, but that tends to be the case for patients in this state. We'll also remove any debris from the mouth that could get in our way, like detached teeth or retainers. I'll be adding a topical anesthetic first, which will numb the gums surrounding the cavity. Usually that's prior to injecting local anesthetic, but due to some unexpected issues, we don't have any of that. Also, it's difficult to inject anesthetic into a patient's tissue if they don't have any. Looks like this patient hasn't brushed in a while. Now that they're numb, we'll be using a high-speed rotary tool with a diamond bit. Sometimes other methods are used, but we won't get into that. We're just using a drill at 20,000 RPM for today. Lasers are a thing though, which would be pretty sick. My assistant's on unpaid vacation after stealing all the local anesthetic, so we'll mostly make do without the mirror or water sprayer. And just to make sure I'm getting out most of that decayed material, I'm going to use some water to flush out the debris between drilling. We don't really need a suction tube for the runoff, just due to the unique architecture of this patient's mouth. And let's dry off the tooth with some medical grade pressurized air. And then apply this green liquid, which is a cavity detector, also known as a caries finder, which can help show where the pieces of unremoved cavities are. Don't worry about the duct tape, that's just for patients that don't stay still. Okay, now we'll use a slow speed handpiece, also known as Mr. Bumpy, to remove the last of the tooth decay. We'll also forget to use that $20 90-degree attachment I specifically got for this video. Anyways, this is called Mr. Bumpy because it's not Mr. Smooth. And now that the decayed material is removed, as you can see by that indent between the teeth, we're almost ready to begin filling. So to prevent the filling from bonding the affected tooth to the one next to it, we'll need some soda can metal, a band around the tooth. Sometimes you'll see a wedge is used. I'm skipping that and just using a clamp to hold the band tight onto the tooth so the filling material doesn't leak somewhere it shouldn't. Alright, we're ready to start the filling process. I'm first placing some etch on the tooth, which is this blue gel. It's basically just an acid that roughens up the enamel so the filling can bond to it better. It's good to get spread on that. And after letting it sit, we can rinse it off and dry the tooth. At this point, usually you turn off any bright lights since the filling components are light cured. But my office happens to be outside, so I'm going to ignore that part. I'm now brushing on some bonding agent to prime the tooth for the rest of the filling, and I'll add some adhesive. After adding that, I can use this light to pretend to harden or cure it. Okay, now we're ready for the filling. We have these three options here. So we have a silver filling, also known as dental amalgam. I think that's how you say it. But that's an alloy of silver, copper, tin, zinc, and mercury. But the patient doesn't like the thought of the mercury in their mouth, so we won't be using that one. We have a gold filling, which is usually only about 2/3 gold, the rest being copper, silver, zinc, palladium, and platinum. But regardless, we're in the US, and this patient is 1099 without dental insurance, so they can't afford that one out of pocket. So we'll use this third option, which is a tooth-colored composite filling. It's made of glass, quartz, silica, and other ceramics mixed with a resin. It should blend into the existing tooth pretty well. I don't know, I'm not a dentist. I'm filling this tooth layer by layer with the composite and carefully packing it in and shaping it so it looks like a tooth. I'm also blending it out a little bit towards the center of the tooth just to give it a little continuity and strengthen the crown. Okay, now that I'm happy with the shape of the filled tooth, we can light cure it. And now that the filling material is supposed to be cured, I'm removing the clamp and removing the band. Okay, we're going to pretend that didn't happen. If we touch it up well enough, maybe we won't get a malpractice suit. And let's throw in a little more light for good measure. Alright, let's jump back to the high-speed drill. If you're actually curious about the bit, I've used the 7134 and the 7103 in this video. For liability purposes, this is not a tutorial video. Please don't try to replicate this. I don't even know why you would want to, but whatever. I need a different hobby. Anyways, we're just touching up the tooth and removing any sharp edges here. We're also going to floss between the teeth just to make sure that the spacing is good. Looks like this patient needs to floss more often. And finally, I'll check the bite with some biting paper. This helps to visualize how good the bite is since the patient's numb and can't really tell on their own. There's a bit of a peak here, so I'll just grind that down a little. And the final step here will be to polish the tooth to make sure it's all nice and smooth, and then clean it off. And here we are, a beautiful cavity-free tooth. I'll put this back for good measure. Hopefully this patient will find some relief now and keep up with their dental hygiene. By the way, I modeled most of this process off a video by Teeth Talk Girl on YouTube, which followed a real cavity filling, not to discredit this one of course. I'll link that video in the description below though, so feel free to check that out. If you're new here, almost all my videos are wood carving videos, so feel free to check those out. But a special shout out to those of you that are subscribed and watch this anyways. If you're in that group, you might just like my videos. Strange, but regardless, if that's the case, you might like my third channel, which is dedicated to showing off some different lab skills. I'll put the name of the channel on the screen right now. I think I'll only have one video on there when I post this, but I'd really appreciate it if you gave it some love so I can impress my boss. Make sure to comment on there that I'm a stellar employee. Alright, well, thanks so much for watching. Comment below if you'd let me fill your cavity. And if you're a dental school recruiter, do what you will. And feel free to subscribe if you like this video. It helps the channel a lot. Alright, thanks again for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.